To The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle an economic puzzle that, honestly, you see all the time, maybe without even realizing it. It's called relative elasticity. And don't worry, we're going to make this super simple with some clear visuals. Ready? Let's dive in. All right, so let's just start with something you've probably seen a million times. Think about it. The price of a really fancy luxury car goes up, and sales just totally tank, right? But then the price of something basic, like a loaf of bread, goes up by the exact same amount, and, well, people pretty much keep buying it. So what's the deal? What is going on there? And this whole puzzle isn't just about the stuff we buy. It's a massive deal for businesses, too. Have you ever wondered how your favorite coffee shop can jack up its prices and the line is still out the door, but some other store tries the same thing and it becomes a ghost town? It turns out the answer to both of these questions is the exact same really powerful economic idea. So to really get to the bottom of this, we're going to look at a classic tale of two products. I promise, this one simple comparison is going to make the whole thing just click. Okay, so in one corner, we've got luxury cars. High-end, something you want, not something you need. And in the other corner, a simple loaf of bread, a total everyday staple. Now, we're going to see what happens when we put them both under the exact same economic pressure. So let's say prices go up by 10%. Just look at this reaction. Demand for those luxury cars, it can plummet by a whopping 25%. I mean, that is a huge, super sensitive response from people. Okay, now let's look at the bread. Same 10% price hike. And the demand drops by a tiny 2%. The difference here is just staggering, right? People barely even blink. They just keep buying their bread. So, what do we call this phenomenon? Well, this huge difference in how things respond to price changes actually has a name. And that's where we get to the main event, relative elasticity. Don't let the fancy name fool you. It's really just a way to compare how much the demand for two different things, stretches or shrinks when the price changes. The key thing to remember is that it's never about one product by itself. It's always about comparing it to something else. And that brings us to the most important point, really. Economists aren't just trying to slap a label on something and say, oh, that's elastic. No, the real question, the one that gives you all the insight, is asking which one of these is more elastic than the other. It is all about that comparison. So let's bring it back to our example. The demand for luxury cars is what we'd call relatively elastic. It stretches a lot in response to price. But the demand for bread? That's relatively inelastic. It's pretty rigid. It doesn't change much at all. See? The language fits perfectly once you get the hang of it. Okay, but wait. This whole idea isn't just about us, the buyers. It's just as critical for the people who make the stuff. So let's flip the script and look at the supply side of the story. And for this, let's compare two totally different worlds, the super fast-paced tech industry and the, much slower world of agriculture. Let's imagine prices for their products suddenly shoot up. The big question is, how quickly can each of them ramp up production to cash in on that? Well, think about it. A tech company, they can probably scale up production of a phone or some software pretty fast, right? So we'd say their supply is relatively elastic. But a farmer? They can't just magically grow more corn overnight because the price is good. They're stuck with seasons and growing cycles. That makes their supply relatively inelastic, at least in the short run. All right, so we've got this cool concept down, but so what? Why does any of this actually matter in the real world? Well, it turns out this one idea is absolutely fundamental to some of the biggest decisions being made in business, in investing, and even in government. I mean, for a business, understanding this is the key to setting prices without scaring away all your customers. For an investor, it helps you spot which industries can react fast and grab new opportunities. And for governments, it's crucial for figuring out how a new tax, for example, is going to affect different people and industries. Okay, but what's actually driving all this? What's the why behind it? Why are some things stretchy and others so rigid? Let's break down the three main things that determine all of this. It pretty much boils down to three key things. First up, are there other options? If there are tons of substitutes for something, its demand is going to be way more elastic. Second, is it a luxury or a necessity? We've already nailed that one with the car and the bread. And third, and this is a big one, time. The more time you have to adjust to a price change, the more elastic your demand becomes. Just think about gas prices. If they spike tomorrow, you still have to drive to work, right? But if they stay high for 5 years,
Well, suddenly that electric car looks pretty good, and your demand just got a whole lot more elastic.
So, if you only remember one thing from all of this, make it this little trick. Things you absolutely need, your necessities, those are usually inelastic. But things you just want, your luxuries, those are almost always elastic. It's a super simple shortcut that works most of the time. All right, so now it's your turn. Time to put on your economist hat. Based on everything we just talked about, which of these is relatively more elastic? A tank of gasoline you need for your commute, or a shiny new sports car? If you can answer that one, you've totally got this.